Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Surviving at Home series where I interview business leaders until COVID-19 becomes history. Now, COVID-19 is not precisely becoming a history yet, but it looks like we're getting there. But regardless, I know there's a lot of conspiracy theory out there, second outbreak, so on and so forth. Who knows what's going to happen, right? But I think one of the most important thing for us is to stay positive, stay motivated, and stay hopeful. Coming out of this season, which leads me to, which is a perfect way in basically to my guest today, my good friend Nalini Tranquim. Uh, I'll let Nalini talk about what she does and whatnot. But first of all, how are you going?
Hi, Alex. It's lovely to be on your show. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, great, great, great. Nalini, talk to me. How are you going with COVID-19? We haven't caught up for a while now, to be honest. Just keen to hear how you're going, given COVID-19 lockdown. How's your family doing? Tell me about who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, initially with lockdown, I was bouncing off the walls, I have to say, because I am such a people person. So I'm used to being out and about, all the time. So it was a massive adjustment for me initially.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's actually been the breath of fresh air that my family and I have needed. So
Right.
we're actually doing great. And I'll be honest, I think I'm a little bit nervous about going back to normal, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's actually been a really refreshing season for us.
Great. Awesome. So do you have kids? You're married. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, okay. So I have been married for 22 years.
22 years.
Yeah,
Gosh, you
I
look like
know.
you're in your early 30s. What are you talking about?
Well, thank you, thank you. No, so to the love of my life, my husband is originally from Mozambique,
Mhm.
and he and his family fled a civil war in Mozambique and moved across the border to Zimbabwe,
Wow.
which is where my family, which is where I was raised.
Mhm.
I was originally born in India,
Mhm.
but my family based themselves in Africa. And so married my high school sweetheart, and we have two beautiful young men, sons. One is now 21 and the other is 19. So they're all grown up and doing their own thing.
Wow, fantastic. And you guys are the kids still staying at home or are they in
So
different parts of the world? Yeah.
one moved out at the end of last year,
Wow.
which was huge, big adjustment there, but he
Mm.
loves it. He's enjoying his freedom.
Yeah.
And then we have one still at home with us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. Lenny, tell me about the amazing things that you do in your professional life. And obviously you run a personal brand as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my family call me a mixed bag of nuts, which could be quite offensive. Anyway, I have got two streams that I'm kind of focusing on at the moment,
Mm.
and it is my music and ministry stream, which is songwriting, being in the studio, producing albums, everything on the musical spectrum. I'm classically trained in piano and I
Mm.
sing as well. That's
Mhm.
probably my first love,
Yeah.
actually. So just come out of the studio this week, actually just working on a new single, which I'm so pumped about.
Yeah.
So there's the creative side of what I do.
Wow.
And that includes live events, and I'm a brand ambassador for Compassion, the children's charity. Their focus is to pull children out of poverty. And so
Mm.
we've been hosting events where I get to share my story and some of my music, and that's been incredible.
Mhm.
So there's that side of what I do, but I'm also a coach. So I do life and business coaching. And I've definitely got a thing for people who find themselves on the threshold of change.
Mm.
So navigating a new season and just helping come alongside people, whether in life or in business,
Mm.
coming alongside that whole change process.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So I do one-on-one consulting with individuals for life coaching,
Mm.
and I'm in the throes of developing a curriculum for couples called Into Business.
Wow.
Yeah, which I'm pumped about. So just journeying through your first year of trading.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Wow.
something I'm
Amazing.
excited about.
First of all, Nalini, you have an amazing voice and you have amazing musical talent. Obviously, been a follower of yours for years, and I still remember standing my wife to one of your sessions.
Yes.
You were hosting a little musical morning tea type kind of session at your place. My wife, it was one of the most memorable things that my
Oh,
wife has ever done. She still
thank
talks
you.
about it to this very
That's
day.
sweet. That's precious. Oh,
Yeah, so
yeah.
well done to you and your amazing talent and whatnot. But
Thank
I'm
you.
more interested in the live coaching side of things. So what are you finding right now? So some of the clients that you speak to, what are people faced with right now, given what's
Look,
happening?
we're in extremely trying times. I mean, some of my people have experienced job loss, and so
Mm,
they now find themselves, with the unknown of what tomorrow is going to look like. I think
mm,
we're definitely a people that like to have the future planned out.
yeah,
I call it the sandwich box mum. We like to have the banana and the sandwich and the apple and everything all in its neat little corner. And
yeah,
then anything outside of that can sometimes throw us into disarray.
mm,
So it's actually been quite powerful coming alongside my clients, particularly in the seasons that are being faced at the moment,
mm,
because of the uncertainty of tomorrow, which is really, I think, where my strengths lie. It's
yeah,
just helping to bring that sense of peace and calm, letting them pour out their hearts in terms of what's going on
mm,
internally,
yeah,
but also then saying, okay, so what are we going to do?
yeah,
What's the plan, and actually coming up with action steps. Sure,
mm,
tomorrow doesn't look anything like what we had expected.
yeah,
One particular client of mine, she'd signed a contract. She works in the film industry. She was about to move countries and sign with a new production company for this big movie. And
mm,
of course, everything in the arts world at the moment has
wow,
has just
yes,
come to a grinding halt.
mm,
And so even, the producers ended up pulling out on that contract, and she's now obviously not able to go.
mm,
So for her, just now facing, well, okay, I'm not going to now be moving out of the apartment that I've been renting,
mm,
and having to navigate the reality of that.
mm,
Do I still sell my car or don't I sell my car?
mm,
So going right down to the nitty gritties of
yeah,
what this change is bringing to the forefront for
yeah,
people, and
yeah,
then helping them take steps. Okay, well, how
yeah,
is this going to look going forward? And I think just bringing that sense, I don't know, I've had a few people say you kind of bring a sense of security, like, you've just got a calmness about you that, it's going to be okay.
mm,
um, and I think that's just it, is that, seasons will come and go.
yeah,
Coronavirus will come to an end at some point.
yeah,
Yes, it's impacting us in ways that we never foresaw,
mm,
but we are a resilient people and we are adaptable.
mm, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I want to come back to your life stories a little bit later, but I want to hone into that point. So, based on the experience that you've had, the conversations that you've had with your various clients, if those people who are watching out there are finding it especially difficult with life choices right now, right? Because, as you said before, you would have had a perfect plan, 12-month, 24-month, 5-year plan. Right now is all stalled at the moment.
Yeah. Yep.
What would you say to those people who are finding it hard to come to terms with how to adjust?
Okay, the biggest challenge is switching off the emotional impact
Mm,
of what's going on around us.
mm,
We can get so caught up in the fear and the angst of change,
mm,
and that then has a ripple effect on us emotionally and mentally.
yeah.
And when you're in a position where you need to start making some decisions for the future,
Mm,
and we cannot be in a standpoint of raw emotion
mm,
whilst making those decisions. So
mm,
it's important to be able to have your cry in the bathroom if you need to,
yeah.
but then to be able to sit down at the table either with your partner or just you and a bit of paper
Mm,
and go, right, okay, we're talking methodical brain now.
mm, mm,
Emotions aside,
mm,
what are my greatest needs right here, right now? And what steps do I need to take in order
yeah.
to be able to move forward?
That's fantastic. Yep.
It's the separating of emotion and having that clarity then to be able to make conscious choice decision
Yeah.
for the steps that need to be taken forward.
I love what you've just said. It's almost like you're giving us agency to be emotional. For a period of time, and knowing that there's an end to that emotion.
100%.
And then when your emotions are totally exhausted, then you start thinking logical and make plans and
Exactly.
things
And look,
accordingly.
fair enough. There is, I mean, we're emotional beings, okay? So
Yeah.
there is going to be that, that initial grief.
Mm.
For my one particular client, I mean, she was particularly excited about this new
Yeah.
position in this other country. It was going to be a year full of whole new adventures, and she was ready for it.
Yeah.
So initially, for the first few days, I mean, she was just grief stricken.
Mm.
So that was not the time to be making decisions and coming to terms with what's happening. In fact, I was telling her, just go and sit in front of a good old chick flicks on Netflix,
Yeah.
and just
Sometimes that's exactly what you need, right?
Yeah, 100%. Glass of wine, a little bit of chocolate, and just, have that cry if that's what you need.
That's right.
But there has to come a time where you can go, okay, let's put the emotions aside. What do we need to do?
Yeah, great. Well, I want to drill into your personal story a little bit. Obviously, what we see today is a multifaceted, performing artist and a life coach and a business coach. You've got an amazing marriage and beautiful kids. Tell us a little bit about what has made you to become this multifaceted, amazing person, and a little bit of your backstory as well. What inspired you to, number one, become a musician, and number two, to now do life coaching as well?
Sure. Look, musician, that's always been, honestly, I think I was born with it. It was in my DNA. I, from a very young age, 4 years of age, I remember nagging my mum for piano lessons. Now, where on earth I even saw a piano, I have no idea. I mean, we were living in Africa at the time, so it's not like we had access to, fancy instruments.
Yeah.
So in terms of music, that's always been a very, very prominent part of who I am. I remember, at the age of 6, standing on the mantelpiece in our lounge, in front of our fireplace, and mum and dad were my audience, and I'd perform to them. So from a very, very early age, that was very much a part of me. But I've always had a love for people. I've always had an empathy for the kid in the playground who's crying in the corner and is on his own or on her own. I would be the one to go and just love on them and just get beside them. And that's something, I don't know, that I've always carried throughout my life. I had the joy of being raised as a pastor's daughter. I mean, it was a joy sometimes and it was a nightmare at other times. But so I was brought up and always in that sphere of thinking outward and having a focus on others. And so I think coming into my adult years, I had this desire to be able to marry the two, to somehow be able to bring music, but also my love of encouraging and getting beside people, together. And so it's kind of morphed into this random business model now that incorporates music and the coaching. But like you say, what people are seeing today has been, like 40 years of grief and slog and, blood, sweat and tears. It hasn't come easy. And, I released a book last year called The Orange Hue. And the month that we released the book, I was battling very, very severe PTSD.
Wow.
Had been navigating horrific depression and anxiety because we had just come out of a horrific season with our youngest child. He was 17 at the time when all of this began, when we discovered that he had fallen horrifically into the drug scene in Melbourne.
Oh, no.
And it sent our family into the darkest of places. Have never experienced that in my life. To the point where, he was living on the streets. We couldn't get through to him, just didn't know how to help him. And so, even the day that we released the book, such a celebratory moment, and it had been years in the making. There was this grief and this turmoil going on the inside of me because of what we were, in the throes of facing at the time. So nothing is birthed just like that.
No.
I mean, you look at a mum from the time the little one is conceived to the time of birthing. I mean, you're talking a good 9-month wait. For me, it has been 40 years
Yeah.
of honing in on my musical craft, really nurturing people and nurturing relationships, being stabbed in the back, being hurt, being let down, getting back up and just pushing through. So I think my biggest take home really, when somebody sees me who I am today, is who I am today is because of,
Yeah.
the grief and the trial and the pains and the hurdles
Yeah.
faced.
Wow. That's remarkable, Nalini. And that's really encouraging as well from coming from a life coach, how vulnerable you are, and also the fact that you're basically saying that we don't have it all together, right? I think a lot of people go and find help and find
Yeah,
coaches and things like that, expecting the other person would have all the answers. Sometimes you just need a companion, um, and
absolutely.
sometimes you just need someone who's walked that path and be able to show empathy and understanding of where
For
you're
sure.
at and shine some lights on. I love, and I
For
would
sure.
imagine obviously what you went through is absolutely terrible, but it's a huge part of character building, and then that actually translates into your craft, your musical craft as well, right?
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
It's created an empathy that I didn't have before.
Mm,
It's given me that ability to be able to really listen to
yeah.
where my people are at and to come alongside because I've been there myself.
Mm,
One thing that I've actually loved about this whole coronavirus lockdown. I mean, I know it's been a horrific time for many people,
sure.
but do you know what it's done? It's actually dropped pedestals. It's
Mm,
removed pedestals from celebrities, who are now having to be creative and allow people into the privacy of their own
yeah.
homes. Where previously they maybe would hide and it would be their own, private space.
Mm,
Now it's very much a what you see is what you get.
yeah.
We
Great.
are all on the same level
Yes.
playing field.
Yes.
Yes, I might be coaching my people, but I'm struggling. There's
Yeah.
stuff I'm navigating that
That's
I'm
great.
dealing with,
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right in that we haven't got it all together.
Mm,
None of us do. For as long as we are on this side of eternity,
mm,
there will always be imperfection. There will always be struggle. But
yeah.
what I love about that is that there is opportunity there to
Yeah.
grow
Yeah.
and to learn and to develop and to change. And
Yeah.
that's
That's remarkable, amazing, absolutely amazing. Lalini, you mentioned about some of the books that you've written. Obviously, you've got musical albums and products and things like that. Tell us a little bit about that so that I can put in the show notes and links and stuff like that so people can
yeah,
discover you.
of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess you'll get the best bird's eye view, I suppose, of what I do through my website. So
Mm-hmm.
just nalinitranquim.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can then choose whether you want to go into the music side of who I am or whether you want to go into the coaching side of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully the website will be able to give, full in-depth detail
Yeah.
there. But, I also offer like a free 15-minute one-on-one session via Zoom. So if somebody wants to get connected with me, by all means, they just need to book in an appointment with me and I'll be more than happy to catch up and touch base with them and see where they're at and
Yeah.
answer questions that they may have.
Great. How about
And
the
the
book?
orange,
Yeah.
yeah, the orange hue, which I wanted to talk to you about. I'm so excited about that one because it's honest and open. It's raw. There's no fluff. I speak it as it is. And I open up about my early day journey,
Mm,
moving from Africa to London
mm.
to hit the music scene. That was really my vision. I
Wow.
wanted to be the next best thing on the
Mm,
musical stage, and didn't realize that when I arrived in London, I was pregnant with my boyfriend, now husband's baby.
right.
And just the trauma of all of that and
Mm,
coming to terms with I'm 18 years old and I'm now going to be a mum.
mm,
And that feeling of the dream that I've had from the time I was a little girl is now never going to happen.
mm.
Um, and just that whole journey of then years passing and realizing that actually, no, it wasn't an end to a dream at all.
Mm.
It was just I had to go through this season of, I think, like the potter molding his clay,
Yeah.
because I can honestly tell you now, if I had made it big at 18, 19 years of age, it would have destroyed.
Amen.
It
Amen.
absolutely destroyed me.
Yeah, I can tell you this was the exact conversation I had yesterday with my coach.
Oh wow.
Talking about how fame and wealth and money can destroy you if you
Yeah.
don't have the character to handle it.
Character.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. So, this book, Orange Hue, where can people get that?
They can get that on my website
Okay.
directly.
Yep.
I think I might have to put a little special offer together for Alex and his people.
Well, do
I'll
that.
send you I'll send you through a code, all right?
Yeah.
And your people can get a discount for
Okay,
sure.
awesome. Now, Nalini, thank you so much for coming on the show. Like, your story is very, very inspiring. Obviously, I'm pretty sure people, listening into your story would find comfort and encouragement. Now, doing what you do best, what would be the number one motivation that you want to leave to our audience today? Or what are
Okay,
you
I think
hopeful coming out of lockdown?
sure. I think I think the most important thing, particularly for now, coming out of coronavirus, I mean, we don't know how long that's going to take, all right?
Mm,
It's still very touch and go, isn't it? I think the number one thing to remember and to inspire you or to motivate you to get back up. When you see a child that's fallen down on the road
mm,
and mommy and daddy are calling them to get back up,
mm.
he then stands up and he dusts off the dirt from his knees and he cries a little, and that's okay, and then he gets comfort in mom and dad. I hope that our time together today just brings a little bit of comfort to you,
Mm,
that you're going to get through this.
mm,
We're going to be okay. We are a resilient people.
mm,
And it's just a question of dust off the dirt from your knees. But number one, remember your why
mm,
for getting back up again.
mm,
All right. Whether it's loved ones that you need to feed and put food on the table for, or, there's people that you need to be coming alongside and speaking life into, or whatever it is that is your driving force,
mm.
it's rooted in your why.
Yes.
Go back to, okay, why do I need to get back up? Why is the season of fear and grief behind me now?
Mm.
What is my why to get me back up and moving forward again?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
probably my number one take home.
Amazing. Remember your why. It may sound cliche to some people, but that's the most important thing that you can
Yeah,
one
yeah,
key like cornerstone that you need to establish in your life. Nalini, thank you
absolutely.
so much for coming on the show. Wish you all the best, you and your family. For the guys who are checking this out, go on her website, check out her music, maybe book a free call for life coaching, but most importantly, buy that book, and I think that book is going to do you wonders. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming on.
thank you, Alex. Thank you, guys.